All right, we've got gain of function, folks. Are you ready to talk about COVID? Because a lab in the United States is reporting that they have gain of function. They're back at it.
All right.
They are literally stirring the pot in time for Halloween. A little COVID brew, if you will.
I'm so glad they're back.
About that?
COVID brew?
Function, what's your function? Something like that.
No, I don't know.
Is that from Schoolhouse Rocks?
You can work on that.
Yeah.
You'll go viral.
Conjunction function. Or
You can always tell a person's generation by if they are aware of Schoolhouse Rocks.
Yeah.
Because I never watched Schoolhouse Rocks. And so I knew like my slightly older friends, my slightly more senior friends knew about Schoolhouse Rocks.
Okay, back to COVID. Thanks.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, the Daily Mail found a study that was ready for preprint, meaning it was not peer-reviewed yet, but the study was done, meaning the lab work was completed and written up into a paper. So what did they do? It was scientists in Massachusetts and Florida created a COVID strain that combined with Omicron and the original Wuhan strain. They found that it killed 80% of the mice that they injected with this. Now, why would they do this? The lead scientist for the Israeli government is condemning this, saying this should be totally forbidden. It is playing with fire. I am inclined to agree with that. So why? Back to the question, why?
I mean, are we asking, let's ask our chat, like, why? Why are you doing this? We already had COVID, right? We know the response. So why are you launching this new round of gain of function research that's now killing, it has an 80% kill rate?
Right. And
you remember when
what are you going to do with
Paul,
that? Also,
Yeah,
yes,
Rand
we are
Paul
going to get
was
to
questioning-
Rand Paul, actually, that we have that element. So you're ahead of us. Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on. You have ants in your pants or COVID in your pants. Okay. So for this paper, researchers were working on a peer-reviewed study, which has yet to be peer-reviewed, to study spike proteins. Here is the summary that the Daily Mail put together of what they were doing. They took the spike proteins off of Omicron, which has many, and merged them with the Wuhan strain because the Omicron virus had so many spike proteins. So they wanted to see, could that make it more contagious? Then they merged those and they gave that to mice, and 80% of the mice died. But when the mice who were only exposed to Omicron, they did just fine. They all lived. The researchers said that this signals that while the spike protein is responsible for infectivity, but when they modified the strain, they found it 5 times more viral than the Omicron strain on its own, which all the mice survived. So yes, this is gain of function. So I guess it's worth asking the question. Yes, we can all be pissed off, and I don't like this at all, but it's worth asking the question, is there scientific value to knowing that Omicron that more spike proteins mean more contagious? We already kind of knew that. Now we have a lab study that shows that. And so since Philip is the scientist and has spent a lot of time in labs, can we make any kind of excuse for why we might have done this risky study? What do you think, Philip?
Giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, actually. I mean, doing something like this is legitimate. Like, it is dangerous, and like the VSL4, like virus security level 4 labs are actually like dangerous places, and that's where they do things like this. They're highly secured facilities. But I mean, it's essentially you have to understand what happens, like when you break something or if something goes wrong, you want to know beforehand, not after. And so it just like knowing. So there is scientific validity to doing this. That doesn't make it any less dangerous.
Okay, because what they wanted to know, is it the spike protein that makes it more dangerous? Is it like, I mean, the way I see it in my head is like a sticker that you get on, like a thistle. Like, yes, it can grab you if it has more of those pokey things, right?
Right, like when you're walking through a field with the dog and you come home and your socks are filled with these.
So they took more pokey things off of one and they put it on the other, and their hypothesis was correct, that more spike proteins equals more infectivity. We knew that, and now we really know that. But again, this is gain of function at a time with the question is, do they need to know it right now? Could they have waited when we're all a little like over this? Is this,
So I guess I'm confused, right? You're setting out to make it more potent, right? You're setting out to make it more infectious.
They want to prove their hypothesis that the more spike proteins equals more infectivity.
Okay, great. So I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. Like that, I mean, couldn't we have already figured that out?
Well, that's what I'm asking Philip. Is this a valid thing that we needed to know? Did we need to know this right now? Right? Could they make an argument that we need to know this because science needs this?
Maybe what they really need to know is, like, can the current version create the new spikes so that a variant doesn't produce itself out of,
Like it's doing it on its own.
The fact that part of it was synthetic anyway. The spike is synthetic. So the fact that that's synthetic kind of, rules that out anyway, because it's like it would have to.
No. The spike's not synthetic. That's how viruses attach to things. The spike protein, they're not creating the spike protein.
Well, but the spike protein in this, Peter McCullough said, is a synthetic because it was man-made.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm glad we solved that. So I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. You can see the contentious nature of this. My question is, we have lab leaks though, right? So we have lab leaks this is not the argument about the Wuhan lab leak, right? Is that, this is so common. We have these things happen all of the time. So if they do happen all of the time, as the Israeli doctors are saying, you're playing with fire.
Okay,
so the Israeli doctors saying you are playing with fire.
Philip just said in this level 4 lab is they are highly secure. They don't happen all the time. But the rest of us who don't spend time in those labs don't have a lot of confidence in this at this point in history.
Right.
Right, Philip?
Right.
I'll tell you, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, so when I took molecular virology, the professor there at Portland State, he was talking about these VSL4 labs and the way they're set up under negative pressure, and they have to be inside a VSL3 lab. So you have like a secure facility around an even more secure facility. But he said the stuff they work with in those VSL4 labs is actually like super dangerous. And almost everybody that works in them eventually gets infected with something that they're working on.
Okay.
So that's great.
Because you're.
So WinCorp here in our chat says, there Clayton goes again, or Redacted goes again, an 80% kill rate, making stuff up. Philip, can you take my screen? This is right here.
Oh, no, that's the media coverage of it. If you want to go all the way down and
80%
in my notes,
kill rate.
Yes, but that's the media coverage of it. Here is the actual study, which does show, we're not making this up. This is a study that was done. Here.
Well, I will, but I have to get my notes. Hold on.
Okay. Go to the bottom of my notes on this segment and click the first link. And we don't need to show you the Daily Mail's coverage of it. The study is there. And they did say that this Omicron S virus carrying that this strain had a mortality rate of 80%. So we're not saying people, they're saying mice.
There you go, WinCorp.
Okay, so let's just review. Let's do a little review of why we all find gain of function a bit nerve-wracking. For that, we will go back to when Congress was trying to get its head around the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. We never really got a straight answer out of Dr. Fauci when he was asked point blank by Senator Rand Paul. And I will play this for you so that Senator Paul will remind us why gain of function is dangerous.
Dr. Fauci, we don't know whether the pandemic started in a lab in Wuhan or evolved naturally, but we should want to know. 3 million people have died from this pandemic, and that should cause us to explore all possibilities. Instead, government authorities, self-interested in continuing gain-of-function research, say there's nothing to see here. Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up super viruses is not new. Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barrick, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Barrick and Shi worked together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally?
Which is what we're talking
Dr.
about,
Fauci,
that
do you still
exact
support
hypothetical. Sorry, I didn't.
funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute
Do they
of
fund
Virology.
Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina, not
You don't think
in
inserting
China.
Okay, so he said at the time, North Carolina. At least now we know, also by researchers in Boston and Florida. The authors of this study say that more research should be done just like this because they still have questions about mutations, and they'd like to move on from mice to primates to get a better sense of how this affects humans. Like Philip said, if you're kind of injecting something super deadly in mice, that's one thing. But then if you're injecting it into a bigger primate, here is directly from the study, it says further studies are needed to identify those mutations and decipher their mechanism of action. One potential problem here is the study of mice, and instead primate models need to be simulated that have more similarities with humans. So how about they don't do that for now? How about if this one is 80%?
Wasn't there a semi that got in a wreck that had a bunch of infected monkeys or something in Delaware or something? You remember that story?
Yeah.
Like
It was
just recently?
Yeah, like why was there a whole semi truck full of infected monkeys? Like what's
Right.
going on?
I don't know.
So like that same thing could happen.
Now, of course, they owe us an explanation of why they're doing this now. Does science absolutely need it? And we'll take a closer look at who is doing this. So look at the acknowledgments from the paper. They're thanking this doctor from Osaka, Japan, for providing some of the plasma or plasmid. They're thanking these other departments of health, the schools, and then, yes, they do say, if you look in the middle right, National Institutes of Health, which is just what Dr. Fauci had said was not funding gain of research. So it is now. Whatever was true when he said that, they donated to this project as well. So a lot of questions, and I don't feel confident about it.
No, but like Dr. Fauci said, he said we've never. What did he say? Someone said he was a double negative. We don't, nor have we never funded gain of function research.
I don't know.
So double negative.
Okay.
So yes, we
But
did.
then he did add that, but if we did, we didn't do it in China.
Right.
Right.
But if we did, we didn't do it.
But if you follow
we did
the
not
money,
do it. But if we did do it, we didn't do it in China. Okay. So you're just doing it in North Carolina and Boston University
And
and
we
other places.
definitely didn't do it anywhere near Wuhan.
We definitely had nothing to do with that. We definitely. Yeah.
All right. So let us know how confident that study makes you in the fact that this new 80% deadly spike will stay in that lab. How do you like them apples?
how quickly after this do you think we'll see a vaccine for this? That's my next question.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an 80% kill rate out there. Let's get that vaccine worked on as quickly as possible.
I'm waiting for the news. Like, we now have a new variant with an 80%. So,
Yeah. Don't worry.
Took their sandwich.
Don't worry. It's just in the Boston area. Like, it's just
great.
It's near Bunker Hill. It's out in Brainerd. But yeah, don't worry about it. It's just in that area. It's not anywhere else yet.
I saw 12 Monkeys. I know how this ends.
You know how this ends.
So.
You ever read the great Michael Crichton book, Andromeda Strain? Oh, it's so good. I think it was it was his first big book, Andromeda Strain.